Hi, I have earlier made a video on a character walking in all directions in an isometric room in a Ren'Py game. I will now expand on that script to walking in a room drawn in perspective. There will be a link to the earlier video in the description below. You might need to look at that video to get the full picture. When a character walks in a room presented in perspective, things further away is drawn smaller than things closer to the camera. The character too must be drawn smaller when further away. For this we need to use a scaling, and we need to set the scaling according to the position of the character in the Y direction. In this kind of walking, the position that is most relevant is the position at the feet of the character. That is, where the character's feet meets the floor. We need to decide the furthest away and the closest the character will be in the scene, counted in position in the Y direction. And we need to decide what the scale should be at each of these points. In this specific case, with this background and this screen size, the furthest away the character will be is at 315 pixels in the Y direction. The closest it could be would be at the bottom of the screen, which would be 480 pixels in this case. The screen is 640 by 480 pixels. In actual practicality, I would set this value to 460 as the closest point to the camera. So we have 460 minus 315, that is 145 pixels between the furthest and the closest point. I have judged the proper scale for the furthest point to be 0.6 and the closest at 1.0. You can decide the proper scale using perspective, drawing and measuring. Me, I fly by my pants and just trust my eye. So, the difference in scale between each pixel with my estimations would be 0.4 through 145. And that would be 0.00276 rounded to 5 decimals, and I think that would be close enough. So we can now decide the degree of scaling based on the character's Y position. We will have a variable sz to hold that value, and we would use the variable sy for the character's position in the Y direction, that is the position at the feet of the character. So we can now calculate sz as 0.6 plus sy minus 315 times 0.00276. We will also have a variable mz, which will be the scale factor at the point to which the character is going to walk. That is the point that will be indicated with a mouse click. The character will walk to the point indicated with a mouse click, and when it has walked to that point, the variable sz will be set to the value of mz. So the actual calculation will be mz equals 0.6 plus my minus 350 times 0.00276. Besides the calculation, I have also set stop points at either side of the range for scaling. So the scaling will not be smaller than 0.6 and it will not be bigger than 1.0. This is not really necessary to do, but I think it's a clean, neat way to do it. Well, so far we have a nice, easy and tidy way to handle this, but we do have a slight difficulty with the position that the image is to be drawn at. the X-pos, Y-pos point. Since the image is drawn at the position of the top left corner, and we are using a point at the feet of the character to decide where the character is positioned, we have to compensate for the difference between these 2 points when we are directing the program to draw the image. In the earlier video, when we did not have any scaling, we set X-pos to SX minus 37, 37 being half the width of the image, and Y-pos to SY minus 150, 150 being the height of the image. And we did the same thing with the point to walk to using MZ. Now we also need to compensate for the amount of scaling. For the X position, we will set the X position to SX minus 37 times SZ. Now this will come out as a float, and we need an integer, so we will change the whole thing to an integer. Int SX minus 37 times SZ. And we will do the same thing for Y position and the position that the character will be walking to. In the description below there will be a link to a document with the changes that we are making in the script compared to the script in the earlier video. Later I will also be adding a way to decide the direction that the character is walking, which will be the base for using different walk cycle images for different directions of walking or standing. There will also be a way to limit the area that the character can be made to walk in that is not simply a horizontal or vertical line. And finally I will have a method for a 2-point walk that will make it possible to avoid an obstacle. But all that will have to wait for another video. So for now, bye.